The light makes it all too easy for us to fall into its trap of believing that the light is truly good and truly pure, and of course it can only be a positive. But ever since the inception of World of Warcraft, the light has shown its less savoury side. The light, more than most things, is a spectrum. Could it be the disappearance of Anduin Wrynn, King of Stormwind, being the catalyst we needed to bring about the inevitable war against the light? The story is left open. Let's speculate on the pieces of the puzzle that have been left for us, and stay to the end to hear our theory on how this could all end. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come, take a seat by the fire. While there are many older threats from the light we could explore, with the most notable being of course the Scarlet Crusade, or one of the factions that splintered from them. Last we saw they had met their own demise, lost to madness. Considering their history, this is most likely a kinder fate than they deserve. Instead, let us look at something a little more recent. This takes us to Draenor, to the alternate timeline. Here, a familiar face is waiting for us. Yrel was once nothing more than a Draenei priestess, one that worked with the forces of the Alliance against the Iron Horde. It was this very experience that changed her forever. The culmination of these changes was a leader of the light that only believed in the absolute word of the Naaru. There can be no room for deviation. She dreamed of the worlds they could bring order to. But first, Draenor and all of its inhabitants would have to be brought to heel, starting with the Mag'har. Of course, they flee to Azeroth and are welcomed into the Horde with open arms, but the outcome of the battle between the orcs that stayed behind and Yrel and her army was left completely unanswered. But as formidable as orc warriors can be, the army of light vastly outnumbered and outgunned them. We propose that Grommash and the orcs that were holding the line were eventually overwhelmed and forced to submit. However, their fate would be far worse than death as punishment. But instead they would be converted to followers of the light, by force if necessary. The best example of this is what Xe'ra attempted to do to Illidan. When she attempted to heal his scars, she was trying to erase his history. In an attempt to make him a force for the light, she had to wash away who he really was. This was less about rebirth and more about control. As Illidan is, he would have been too much of a wild card to be considered acceptable. The Light Mother, the Naaru, showed Yrel many visions of all the worlds the light would bring order to, which sounds like a nicer way to say conquer. What difference is there between the Burning Legion and the Lightforged if there is no choice? Each believes their way is the only way. The light, at its extreme, is barren and static, leaving no room for deviation or freedom. This is just as scary, if not more so than the Void who offers freedom, even if it tends to be anarchic. Azeroth is a melting pot of different ideas and ideals. The light has already come into conflict with those who do not believe. The current leader of the humans, Turalyon, is another devout follower of the light. Even his love for Illyria did not dissuade him from this path. When she first embraced the Void, she was imprisoned by the Lightforged. He stood by. He let it happen. He believed that the word of the light was absolute. He had blind faith. Well, right now we have more elemental concerns. The incarnates are on the loose, and the return of the void. These are all exciting, but the foundations for the future are already laid. Here at the campfire, we believe we are standing on a precipice. What we believed were our gods turned out to be nothing but naivete. The powers we once believed were good and evil turned out to be shades of grey. The cosmic domains, each having their own agenda, should at this point shock no one. But what this really means for us on Azeroth is that this is the time to stop turning to others. The light, the arcane, the void, the fel, so on. These are only useful tools, but they are just that, a means to an end. So time to put those tinfoil hats on. And here it is, our best prediction of the events to come. It starts where we are right now. The incarnates have retreated deep into Azeroth to seek the source of power that once infused them with elemental might. They feel this is the only way they can topple the Titan-forged grip once and for all. We follow them into the darkness, allying with the earthen that stayed down there, ones also touched by the elements in unique ways, the Underdwellers. They have built their empire around this source of elemental power, and are now fighting the primalist forces for control. They ally with us, our goals align, and they have a kinship with the dwarves. During the ongoing siege, we begin to lose this war of attrition. The dark bargains of Iridikron and the Jarradin elders of old, as well as other more unsavoury creatures, begins to take its toll upon our forces. We must take the fight to them directly, or risk losing a drawn-out war. With the aid of our new allies, we are victorious, but the price we paid was high. We had to destroy the source of elemental power to stop them. But it was not only powering the incarnates, but a lot of the Titan machinery in the area too. Suddenly, all the water purification facilities and the wards in the area grind to a screeching halt. Like the breaking of a dam, the shadow and rot that was being held back floods the entire area. Illyria hears the whispers of the void chattering too loudly. Now she can barely hold herself together. Many are lost to the madness, and cries of joy can be heard ringing out from whatever remains of the Twilight Hammer cult. This, they think, is the true coming of the hour of twilight, and the dark gods are reborn by the death of stars. While we make ready to fight back this darkness, a scheme is hatched in secret, the most unlikely of alliances. Not all of the Ancient Ones are without reason to see potential. They would even help us against the others, as long as it secured them autonomy and freedom to coexist. Many agree to this new alliance, even more do not. It is hard to reconcile allying with madness itself, but in the face of terror, this seems like the only way, and for now, there is no use fighting each other. The embracing of shadow on such a large scale has many repercussions. The light would never abide the shadow's return to Azeroth. Long have they aided the enemies of the void. The army is sent forth, and familiar faces once friends have come to offer an ultimatum: join or die. Yrel is there, with her lieutenant Gromash controlled by the light. Branded with golden eyes, he is a formidable sight. Those tainted by the void can no longer be saved, says the Naru that spearhead this campaign. Luckily, however, not all who are faithful to the light believe this is the true path. Turalyon, who has been so faithful, now sees what he could not before. he sees what Illidan meant when he refused the light's gift. To live in the light and serve should not mean the loss of freedom. And so it begins, the blinding clash of light across our world. And here we have it then, just some of our predictions for the ensuing war. And with the advent of the human heritage armor, we are hoping we get at least a few hints towards the current status of the light. There is more speculation to be had. The infinite flight have a huge role to play. Very soon, and with the New World Tree and home of the Kaldorei being upon us, this linking and interweaving threads is vast, and feels truly like a new age of storytelling from Blizzard. What do you think? Could you reconcile a deal with the devil, like the shadow priests you see muttering to themselves in shadowed corners? Or perhaps you think the tyrannical light is right, and there is only one path to absolution. How about you let us know in the comments, or come tell us on the Discord. And don't forget to come back anytime.